Hello, everybody. Am I audible? You can type in the chat if you're able to hear me. This is Ishan Pandita speaking from Amity University, Mumbai. I am your facilitator for the day, and I'll be discussing Android today. If you're able to hear me, just type that in the chat. And all right, thank you, Prashant. I'll be sharing my screen soon. In case your friends are unregistered for the event and would like to learn about Android development, apart from this event as well, there is the live streaming link that I have posted on the chat. You can share that with them. I'll just pin this message so we can find it later on as well. All right. I have a short presentation ready for you all. I'll just begin sharing my screen in a minute, and we will start with the Compose Camp session soon. All right. Is my screen visible to everybody? Just can respond in the chat. I'll turn off my video camera for the moment to maintain a good quality of internet. However, when we'll be discussing or if there are any questions, I'll be turning on my video as and when required. So there won't be any problem with that. All right then. First of all, the course of action is to define what we're doing here today. So welcome to Compose Camps. This is an Android study jam session with the main topic being Jetpack Compose, the framework. First off, since we might have attendees who are not very well experienced with Android, we'll be starting with the first two events related to basic Android fundamentals using Kotlin. Kotlin is the language that we'll be using throughout this adventure, the Compose Camps. There will be approximately 4 events which will be covering these. And all attendees will be given links to pathways developed by Google developer experts on their own. And these pathways are self-paced. So there is no time limit. You can do it whenever you want. And we from Google Developer Student Clubs, Amity University, Mumbai, will be there to help you solve those questions if you ever get stuck. The pathways as prescribed by Google developer groups are very well detailed, and you probably won't even need any help from our side. But if that is the case, we are still ready to help you with everything that comes up during the day. So what exactly is a Compose Camp? Compose Camps are where you will learn how to build Android applications using the new framework Jetpack Compose. That's Android's modern UI toolkit. Compose Camp is for everybody from absolute beginners to experienced Android developers. In general, there are a few requirements for you to understand what's going on in the Compose Camps. First will be, of course, you need to have a basic understanding of computers and how they work. We'll require you to know a little bit of mathematics for the program logic. We'll need you to have a computer and headphones if you need them for clear audio. The computer can also be a mobile device for the first session. However, when you need to run Android Studio, which will be from third and fourth sessions, we recommend using a laptop or a desktop. If you have that would be great. And one of the most important things, of course, through all sessions is to have a good internet connection so that you're able to follow what is going on during the presentation as well, and also follow the pathways and get your badges updated. Now, what badges are, I'll be explaining soon, so don't worry about that. Moving forward, we also have to discuss what we will learn through Compose camps. First and foremost, the goal is for you to build an Android application using Jetpack Compose. So the end goal of the entire Compose camp through these 2 or 3 weeks is able to understand how applications are built. To do this, we will be going through the Kotlin programming language, and we'll install Android Studio on your device. This device may preferably be a laptop or a desktop, because anything less powerful than that might give you problems later on, because Android Studio is actually a very heavy application, although it is just as powerful as it is heavy. In the end, we will also talk about how you can use different resources to continue learning about Android, even apart from Compose camps. So before beginning with the technical stuff, I just like to know my audience. You can type in the chat, or we also have our YouTube live. You can go there and type if you'd like. Why are you here? What are your goals? And what do you plan to do in order to achieve these goals? We'd like to know that. Feel free to type into the chat or on the YouTube live stream. All right, we see that Prashant is here to get a gist or a summary of how Android development works. That is exactly what we are going to do, so you're in the right place. Is there anybody else who would like to share their experiences, their goals? All right, then you can type in the chat box while I have a short activity planned for all of you. Just give me a minute. We can visit menti.com. I'll be sharing a code with you, and we'll have a short 2-minute question answer round, so I get to know my audience very well. Just a minute. Yep. Rishabh is also here to learn about Android. This is the right place to come. Nice. Vanshal is here to enjoy being a coder, CSE. Exactly. This is one of the, one of the answers I was looking for. Of course, the main goal is to learn something. But apart from learning something, at GDSCAUM, we want you to enjoy the process of learning. In the live chat, we have Gaurav and Richard. Their goals are to create a community-friendly application for my NSIM. Oh, that's great. That's great. We'd love to help you with that as well. Vidya wants to learn about the framework. Excellent. We'll be focusing on the framework next week. So be sure to register for that as soon as the application comes up. I believe the Menti page should be visible now. Am I right? We'll be starting with the first screen. Yep. So the first question that we have on Menti is, what is your age? I just share the same screen on our meeting page. Yep. I'll just share the same screen so everybody's on the same page. We have the icebreaker account. Great. We have one attendee who's 20 to 21 and two 18 to 19 years old. Everybody can join in through the link. Great. All right, we'll just move to the next question as well. Some of you have already stated what you want to learn in these sessions, but apart from that, what else would you like to learn? You can answer multiple times as well if you'd like. Some people have already answered Android, Kotlin development, about Android. Great. Android Tech and Workflow, Android Studio. Yep. Android development. Yes, those are all the things that we'll be doing this time. So quite excited for that. Android development. Great, great. To use my time very well. That's a very good point that one of you have made. These pathways, there are actually quite a lot of pathways. You have 4 units consisting of 3 pathways each. Of course, we won't be able to complete everything in these sessions. So you will have to dedicate a little bit of time apart from these sessions as well. We'll be expecting you to do that. And of course, the Google developer groups have arranged these pathways in a very simple and easy to do manner. So you'll be able to do that as well. All right, then. I believe we can get back to our session. I'll reshare my screen. Here we go. So this is the website where you will be learning about Android basics with Compose. The name of the course that we'll be doing through this Compose camp is Android basics with Compose. If you Google this course, you will be led to a Android developers website, or you'll be led to a Google developers website, both of which lead to the same links. So you don't need to worry about that. If you move ahead, this course, Android development with Compose, is split up into different units, as I stated previously. And in today's session, we will be focusing on the very first pathway of the first unit. That will be introduction to Kotlin itself, the programming language which we will be using for Android development. So what does a pathway have? A pathway contains different code labs, videos, and one quiz related to a particular topic. So if your pathway is introduction to programming in Kotlin, all elements in that pathway will be related to Kotlin, the programming language. There will be some practice coding sessions. There will be a code lab. There is something known as a Kotlin playground in which you can write Kotlin code, execute it just like an online compiler without even having to download a text editor or an integrated development environment like Android Studio. So this is where you can quickly learn Kotlin, even with from your mobile device. You don't need to have a very high processing power device for this. So I'll be sharing the links of these websites with you. This is an overview of the quiz that we'll be having. So this is what your quiz will look like. Every pathway will have one quiz at the end of the pathway to test whether or not you have understood the content. And if you get if you cross the threshold score of the pathway, you'll earn your Android development badges. This is what we have discussed here. Every quiz that you pass, you will earn a badge, and these badges can be displayed on your Google developer profiles. What a Google developer profile is, you can read through this link that I'll be posting in the chat box. Yeah, this will be your Google developer website. Let me just post it on YouTube as well. Here you go. All right. So if you have not yet created a Google developer profile, this is the perfect time to create it. Use your Google account, your Gmail account, log into Google developer groups, Google developer profiles. You can create your own profile there, and using the same profile, you have to solve these pathways. This is of paramount importance that we understand that the Google developer profile that you make needs to be the one you are signed in with. You have to log in using that profile for your progress to be registered, the same profile. That is very important so that we'll be able to track your progress. So now that we are done with the prerequisites of the Android study jams or compose jams this time, let's have a look at what this session entails. First off, we'll be discussing the Kotlin programming language itself, and we'll be discussing it from a point of view of beginners. Even if you have zero experience in programming, you will be able to understand this language. The pathway 1 of unit 1 is focused on this. All right, we go to the next slide. This is the Kotlin playground that I was actually discussing about. Here you can write Kotlin programs online and see their output as well. I'll just share the link with you. Just a second. Even while this session goes on, I urge you to go ahead and visit this Kotlin playground, get to know about the details, how the interface looks and everything before we get into the coding part. Right now, we'll be writing very simple Kotlin programs. The syntax you might find is a little bit similar to Java, the language, if you have done programming before. But of course, there are a few differences. And like our Android teacher says, the most fun part of Kotlin is functions because they are defined using the word fun. Of course, just like Java, every Kotlin program must have a main function. We'll be discussing that as well, so don't worry about that. These programs can, of course, be executed on the developer Kotlin playground that I've shared with you. So feel free to go online, check those programs. There will be a default program, Hello World, over there. You can run that to see the output, and the output, it is shown on the screen. Now, regarding the code, there are step-by-step instructions for what your computer should do. Every computer has these instructions, and that is what we call code. And we are going to create this code in Kotlin for our mobile computers. And as I stated previously, just like Java, Kotlin also requires Kotlin files. Okay, Kotlin files also require a main function. So what exactly a function is, you may ask? A function is a piece of code that will perform a unit task, a single task. You can have multiple functions in a program, or you can have just one function which does all of the work if the work is simple. The main reason behind creating functions is to reuse your code. So if you were to write a program to say, send an email to 10 people, would you write the entire email again and again and again for each of the 10 people, or would you write a template, then copy that template and change a few words like dear sir and dear ma'am? Instead of that, you write the name of the person. Of course, you would also agree that copying the entire code, copying the entire email body and then changing the name is a lot more easier than writing the entire email again. So that is the main goal of defining a function. You have a template in which you put in certain values like the name of the person, and then you can reuse the entire piece of code without having to write it again. And one thing that you need to take care of as a programmer is to maintain readability of whatever you write. So as a good programmer, you are not the only one who should understand your code. Even a layman who has never read code should be able to understand in general, at least to be able to guess what your code does. It should be English-like. That is the main objective of modern day code. It should be English-like and readable. Now, how do we define a function? I have just stated beforehand that my teacher says this is the most fun part of Kotlin, the fun keyword. This is what defines a function, and it is followed by a function name. And this name can be anything you want. You can create a function Ishan, function Rishav, or function YouTube, function Android, anything. The only thing is the name of the function by programming convention should be something that helps you understand what happens inside a function. So um, if I am writing a function about sending emails, my function should have a name which helps us understand that this function sends emails. So maybe something like function send emails or function deliver emails, something like that. All right. Now, your function definitions in Kotlin do require parentheses or brackets after the function name. This is where parameters or the values which we were talking about before, like if you want to insert specific names of people into the email body, you will specify that name between these brackets, and those will be substituted according to what your variables are declared in the email body if you're talking about the emails function, or if you're talking about any other function wherever you define those variables. And of course, the function definition requires a scope or demarcation of what all exactly is contained within this function. So this is done by enclosing its contents between curly brackets. Putting all these functions together, all these elements together, you can create one single function which gives you such an output as shown on the screen. Hi, I am Megan and I'm 28 years old. So as we spoke about before, there will be certain variables. And in programming, what variables are simply boxes or spaces in the memory which have been given a certain name. Now, these variables or the boxes can be substituted within template code to be reused, just as we did with the emails. So if you see here, the first variables that we set will be Megan and 28. So your output becomes my name is Megan and I'm 28 years old. If, however, you set the name and age variables to Janet and 49, your output becomes my name is Janet and I'm 49 years old. Everything apart from the variables remains the same, and that is what we want to reuse our code for. And now we just used these boxes of memory to store some data. Of course, not all the data is of similar type. There are different types of data. We call them data types. And Kotlin supports a wide number of data types. First off is textual data like names, Megan, Ishan, Rishav, Pranav. All of these come under string data types. There are number data types, which include integers denoted by int, double and float, which are decimal numbers, Boolean, which is true and false. You can also have characters, which are single letters or even Unicode characters, maybe \n if you've worked with that before, that is line break, \t, which is a tab or white space, and so on and so forth. Now, how do you define these variables using data types? What you do is in Kotlin, there are two keywords, val, and var. Val is a read-only variable. It is like the Java constant, Java or C constant value. Once you declare a val, you won't be able to change the value. However, if you do actually wish to change the value during the course of the program, you will declare a var, a variable var. This will be something like, a program counter. Every 5 minutes you increase the time. So that will be something you declare using var. So how do you define these variables? Within a function, you will specify, okay, my name val will be a string. So we get to know that, okay, the variable called name is a constant and its data type is a string, and the value that I'm permanently setting for it, at least for this one function, is Megan. Now, I set a variable called age using var. Its data type is integer, and I'm setting the value to 28. So this is how you will define variables in Kotlin. The names will be identifiers, and these must not be some reserved keywords. So you cannot name an identifier or a variable something like print or println, because println is already a function in Kotlin. It is a predefined function, so you cannot keep the name of a variable println, so on and so forth. There are a list of reserved keywords which you will discover when you start programming in Kotlin. As we discussed just before that, data types of these variables can be specified so that the compiler, the machine, understands what value should it expect when it gets to this variable. And the last part after the equal to sign is the value of the variable that we want to give it. The equal to sign is called the assignment operator, and whatever value you give it will get stored in the box of memory that has been assigned to this variable. Putting everything together in the function that we had before, we write val name is Megan, val age is 28, and println, that is print line, hi, I am $name and I am $age years old. Now you might ask me what $name and $age is. Here, if we run the program, we see that Megan and 28 is printed instead of $name and $age. So that is exactly what these represent. They got substituted into the statement that we wanted to print. This is called templating in Kotlin. We'll discuss more about that as we go through the pathways. So let us get started. I request all of you to go on and visit this link. I just typed that in the chat as well, so it is easy for you. Oh, 1 minute. There is a typing mistake. Let me delete that. Yep. All right. You all can go ahead and visit this link, which will lead you to the website, which has this pathway. All right. Then. Once we reach there, we can see this page, and there will be n number of units. But for now, we will be focusing on Unit 1, Pathway 1. If you have any questions regarding the unit while you do that, you can ask in the chat box, or you can ask on the YouTube live stream. You can, of course, contact us via our email address as well, or you can join our Discord, which we will be soon releasing through our link tree. Yeah. So this is the time to go ahead and work on Unit 1, Pathway 1. Everything that you need is already given in the contents. I will just go through the contents and I'll show you. Let me share my screen. Google developers page. Where is it? This one. Yeah. I hope my screen is visible. You can type in the chat. Yeah. All right. So here, as I said, we have to go to the Learn tab. Okay, pay attention. We are on developers.google.com. We go to the Learn tab. We'll wait for it to load properly. Now here you might find different pathways, all of which might not concern you at this moment. So where exactly do you find Android? We want to do Android at the moment. So where do you find that? You can go ahead and choose one of the filters. And remember the word filters. If you are on your mobile phone, your filters will appear somewhere on the right side here. Beside the type to filter area, there will be a list of filters which you can open on the drop down. Then within those filters, first choose introductory. Then in the content type, choose course. So remember this, I'll just type that in the chat box as well. Learn. That was developers.google.com. Learn. Then filters. Introductory plus course. So these are the steps that you're supposed to follow. I've pasted them in the chat, and let's go back. Now, after these filters have been applied, you can see them. You get 3 courses. One is Jetpack Compose for Android developers. This is not what we are supposed to do, because this is a course designed for people who already work with Android. What we need to do is Android basics with Compose. So let us just click on Learn More. We'll be redirected to that page. Here we are, Android basics with Compose. And make sure that on the top right corner, you are logged in through your profile. If you are not logged in through the Google developers profile, your progress will not be recorded. And even if you study everything, it won't be recorded. And that will be very, it will be harmful. It won't be a nice sight to see at the end of the course. So what you can see here is I have already gone through the first 2 pathways, and I have these badges with me. However, we'll go ahead, click explore. We get redirected to this Unit 1 page, your first Android app. And what we are going to do today is introduction to Kotlin. So we click on that. Here you see that there are n number of activities enlisted. There are 7 activities followed by 1 quiz. What we need you to do is to go through these code labs. Of course, all of these are very, very simple code labs to go through. Most of them are about reading stuff. This is an introduction to the team itself. You can go ahead and look at these videos if you want some help with it. Most of these videos cover up the entire pathway content in one video itself. So even if you watch this video, you have a little bit of programming experience beforehand, you can maybe attempt the quiz directly. Depends on how familiar you are with Android already. So right now, I'm not going to watch the video. That I leave up to you. We'll go ahead with the first program in Kotlin, Code Lab. So this Code Lab redirects you to this page where there are certain instructions. Of course, these instructions are what you will need to follow as well to register your progress. I'll just lead you through the entire pathway once, and then the rest of it is up to you. We'll get started. You all have to read these instructions. The first thing that we see is they also introduce the Kotlin playground to us. This is our main resource for the first pathway. And if we open this link over here, we'll be led to the Kotlin playground. I'll just share my screen again. Let's have a look at the Kotlin playground directly. Yep. So this is what the Kotlin playground looks like on your laptop device. On your phone device, it might look a little bit different. And one major thing that you might have noticed is, apart from different from Java, you don't need semicolons. But even if you have semicolons, your program will run the same way. If I remove the semicolon, it still prints hello world. And as you already saw, even if I run it with a semicolon, it will print hello world. So you don't have any problem with that. Even if you come from a Java background, you can still keep the semicolons if you like them. But of course, you don't require them compulsorily. So that's one good thing with Kotlin as a language this time. All right, I'll stop sharing. I'll go back to the previous page. In the Chrome tabs, we have our first program in Kotlin. I'll share that. Yeah. So we have a list of instructions. They have told that, okay, you have to click the green button to run the program. This is the first program that they'll run, of course. And this is where the function starts, as we have discussed previously. They have defined differences between the definition and calling of a function, how you define a function, as we discussed the name of the function, and within the brackets, your variables that you need to substitute within these curly, whatever content or the template of your function will be, so on and so forth. Moving ahead, you can, of course, change these programs according to your whims and fancies. You can print more than one lines. Every print ln function takes you to a new line in your console. You can use a variable like your underscore name within these functions, within the parameters. I think that will be ahead if I'm not wrong. Okay. Yeah, they've left that as an exercise to us, so that won't be a problem. We'll do that. And the most important thing is, of course, everybody does get errors in their code. Nobody is a perfect programmer. Even if you have years of experience, you will run into bugs, something like this. So in this main function, what we have done is you have written fun correctly. That is a keyword to declare a function. The main keyword is there, which is the name of the function that is required at least once in a Kotlin program. You have defined your scope. Okay, you know that your function must be within these curly brackets. Println has also been declared properly. You have an opening bracket for println. You have a text value within these println brackets. However, you may notice that we have started with a double quote, but we forgot to put the ending double quote. And that is why the machine, the compiler, is beginning to think that this text, this sentence, today is sunny, never ended. For the computer, this sentence is still going on, even after the curly brackets. And if the sentence goes on even outside the notebook, I'm pretty sure not even we will be able to understand what the content is. So what we need to do to correct this is hinted at by the Kotlin compiler itself. It says it is expecting a double quotation mark somewhere. It is expecting a close bracket somewhere. Now, what are these? We need to understand this error message that has been displayed by Kotlin. So what Kotlin first says is it is expecting something. This means something is either missing or it is in the wrong place. The first thing that it says is expecting is a double quotation mark. So that's what we discussed previously. We have started the text, but we never ended the text. So if we put a double quotation after the exclamation mark, this expecting double quotes will go away. What about the expecting parenthesis, the closing brackets? Well, of course, this is in relation to the println function. You have started the println function, but since you only have one quotation mark, the closing bracket that you wanted to keep is now being considered as part of the sentence that you want to display. But when you declare that this sentence ends after the exclamation mark, automatically the machine understands that, okay, this closing bracket is not a part of the sentence, it is part of the function. Then it will automatically assign that closing bracket to the println function, and your stuff will be like expected over here. Println, you added a quotation mark after Sunny, you automatically registered this closing bracket as part of the println function, and this will give you the correct output. Today is Sunny, exclamation mark. Now, these are certain exercises that I want you to go through right now. I mean, of course, not exactly at this moment, because some of you would require to go through the Kotlin playground and it will take you some time to understand. If this is your first time coding, I do understand that. But of course, before the next session, it is highly recommended that you do go through all of these exercises and try to solve them on your own. All these outputs, of course, if you would like to cheat, you can do that. All of the outputs are given over here, the solutions as well. But of course, if you truly want to understand what goes on within the brain of Kotlin, I recommend that you try and solve all these questions. Even if you have programmed before, it will be a breeze. You can do it very easily if you've done that before. So go through these questions. That will be your first pathway completed once you've done this. We can then move on and attempt the quiz after you completed all the pathways. If you want to watch this video, you can do that, of course. This will be explaining what comes after Unit 1 Pathway 1. In general, the main goal of every pathway is that you take the quiz. Make sure that while attempting the quiz, you are logged in. Only then will your score be counted. Once you submit your answers, let us just try. Okay. Which of the following variable declarations is valid? Let us see. Variable hello is an integer. So with this question mark, actually a valid declaration up to this point. What the question mark means is we are asking the compiler to check whether the input is an integer or not. If it is not an integer, the value the compiler should give this variable should be null, N-U-L-L, null. And if it is not null and not even an integer, then the compiler must throw an error. Right now, what we are doing is, instead of assigning null, we are giving it a string value, a text value, which is written in double quotes. Of course, this string is empty for now. There is no content within this text, of course, because you have double quotes and then double quotes again. So you're saying that there is basically nothing inside this sentence, but it is still a sentence. It is not null. So that is why this declaration is not valid. The string hello is equal to hello. Of course, the sentence hello should be on the RHS of the equal to sign, and the identifier hello should be on the left hand side of the assignment operator. So this is also an invalid declaration. VAL hello is equal to hello. Okay, this seems to be fine. We have not specified that this has to be a string, but we can assign a value like this. So that would be fine. Then we have hello, that is a string, and the value is also hello. But we did not tell Kotlin whether this hello is a variable or a constant, the var or val. So this also will not be a valid declaration. This is how you will solve the rest of the problems. Of course, I will not tell you all of the answers because that is something I want you to do on your own. But if you run into some problems, you can get in touch with us on our Discord, which we will be sharing with you soon, and also through our email. So that won't be a problem. You can go through Stack Overflow. Nobody is stopping you from Googling these answers because every good developer knows that Google is his best friend. So feel free to search for the answers on the internet if you don't understand. Of course, you have to first try on your own. If you get stuck somewhere, search for it on the internet. Feel free to visit websites. There is Stack Overflow, there is Geeks for Geeks, there are different forums, there are blog pages, there are Kotlin documentations. Everything is there on the internet. If still, even after discussing on the internet, there is something that you really are stuck on, we are always there to help you. All right. So with that, we come to a conclusion of the first pathway. Let me just check if there are any questions. All right. There were a few questions on YouTube that I missed. I'm sorry. I believe you did get the link now, Faizan. Yeah, you've written yes. So that's fine. Then I'll stop sharing my screen. I'll share my presentation again because there is a little bit of things that I need to discuss with you all before concluding the session. What do we need to do next? After you all complete Unit 1, Pathway 1, I request all of you to complete Unit 1, Pathway 2 on your laptops or desktops, because that involves installation of Android Studio. And we absolutely require Android Studio for tomorrow's session. So that is a basic requirement. We need to be able to run Android Studio immediately when the session begins. And all the instructions are already given. Let me just go to the website. I'll just show you in brief what you're supposed to do. We'll open the intro to programming. We'll go back to our first Android application. Yeah. So this is where we need you to be. Unit 1, your first Android application. After you complete introduction to Kotlin and you have earned your badge for that, go ahead and look at pathway number 2 as well, because we need you to do that. Set up Android Studio. What we'll do here is help you to install and set up Android Studio on your device itself. So you will be able to create Android applications from your laptop or desktop, and will be able to follow all the projects and pathways that will be coming up in the next sessions. This is of high importance that we be able to install Android Studio before the next session. Everything that you need to do in order to install the application is given in these code labs. Then there is also a small series of steps to create your first very basic Android application. There is something called Android layouts, which we'll be discussing later. For that, we need you to set up a small project. Everything will be taken care of using this the second pathway. And I urge you to complete both pathway number 1 and pathway number 2 before tomorrow's session. All right. So let's get back to our PPT. I believe we are nearing the end of the presentation, so there won't be any problem. Of course, also do make sure to register for tomorrow's event on the community page. Where the community page is, I'll let you know in just a second. I'll type it in the chat box as well. We have tdsc.community.dev/Amity University Mumbai. So in the chat box, this is the link that you need to go to stay updated on all the events that we'll be having. This will be the link. I've shared it both on YouTube as well as the Baby platform. So with this, we come to the end of the presentation for today. Your homework for the day is to complete pathway number 1 and pathway number 2. And once you've done either of those, either one of the pathways or both of them, that would be great. Go ahead and post on social media using the hashtag ComposeCamp, hashtag ComposeCamp India, hashtag Developer Students Clubs, and GDSCAUM. You can tag all of you can tag GDSCAUM on whichever platform that you're posting on. Our name will either be Google Developer Student Clubs, Amity University, Mumbai. That will be the long name, or the abbreviation GDSCAUM. And you can tag us on Instagram, on Facebook, on LinkedIn, on Twitter, everywhere. So whenever you complete that, do share your progress. We are excited to know what you're doing and how much you have done. And with that, we come to the end of the presentation. We want you to learn more, and be sure to register for the next event. I'll see you here again tomorrow at 5:30. All right, with that, we are now ready to take any questions if there are. The Q&A section is open. If there are any questions, I'll be taking them from there. The YouTube live stream as well. If there are any questions, please do. Faizan, thank you for the appreciation. Thank you all. Thank you for the kind words. Of course, this is only the first session. You'll enjoy a lot more when we, do a little bit more sessions together. Definitely, the session being productive is one of our main goals. We'll be discussing a lot more technical stuff once we have Android Studio installed. We'll be getting into coding and everything. So be sure to install Android Studio by tomorrow. If there are any questions, we'll be waiting for them. In about 3 or 4 minutes, it will be time for our session to conclude. All right, I believe there are no questions, so it would be a good time to say our thanks. You can go ahead and visit these pathways, complete pathway number 1 and 2, and register for tomorrow's event on the given link. We'll meet tomorrow again at 5:30 in this very place. An email will be sent to you through which you can join. And do share this event with your friends. If they are not registered on the GDSC platform, do request them to register so that they can take the greatest benefit of live interaction. If they are unable to interact live with us, of course, they can go ahead and re-watch the YouTube stream that we'll be doing for the entire Compose Camp sessions. So don't worry about that. The YouTube link is still pinned in the chat. You can share that with. And with this, I believe we can disperse. Is that fine with everybody? Yeah. All right, then. Thank you for attending this session. It was great to have you with us. And we'll meet again tomorrow. Bye, everybody.